Assassins have fascinated historians, scholars, and popular culture alike for centuries. The concept of an assassin is often shrouded in mystery, myth, and intrigue, but it has roots in historical events, religious movements, and political shifts that reveal a complex and multifaceted history. From ancient times to modern narratives, the assassin's role has evolved, representing everything from a feared enemy to a romanticized hero. Origins and etymology. The word assassin traces back to the Middle Eastern term hashashin, or hashishia, often associated with a medieval sect known as the Nizari Ismailis, a Shia Muslim group that operated between the 11th and 13th centuries. The term hashashin itself derives from hashish, a cannabis-derived drug that members allegedly used, though scholars debate this claim's historical accuracy. Western travelers, such as Marco Polo, embellished stories of the hashashin, contributing to the popular narrative that assassins were fanatical killers under the influence of mind-altering substances. The Nizari Ismailis lived during the political upheaval of the Crusades. Under the leadership of Hassani Sabah, they established strongholds in mountainous regions like Alamut in Iran. Using their knowledge of guerrilla warfare and psychological tactics, they carried out assassinations that targeted key political and religious figures. Their methods involved stealth, precision, and sometimes suicide missions, intending to destabilize enemy factions and send messages of resistance. Over time, this small yet impactful group's tactics would shape the assassin archetype and inspire legends worldwide. Historical assassins and political intrigue. While the Hashashin are perhaps the most well-known historical assassins, assassinations as a political tool date back much earlier. Ancient texts detail plots and murders carried out by assassins within royal courts, temples, and military camps. 1. Ancient Egypt and Greece. In ancient Egypt, pharaohs and nobles sometimes fell victim to plots by rivals or family members seeking power. The ancient Greeks also documented assassinations in texts like Herodotus' histories, detailing how political rivals and enemies were often targeted to shift the balance of power. For example, the assassination of Philip II of Macedon in 336 BCE, father of Alexander the Great, is widely considered a politically motivated murder, though details remain speculative. Number 2. Roman Empire. In Rome, assassinations became notorious as a tool of political change, reaching a climax with Julius Caesar's assassination in 44 BCE. Led by Brutus, Cassius, and other senators, this act was a protest against Caesar's perceived attempt to establish a dictatorship. Later, emperors like Caligula and Commodus were assassinated by their guards or close confidants. These killings underscored how political tension, power struggles, and betrayal were integral to the role of assassins throughout history. Number 3. Feudal Japan and the ninjas. In feudal Japan, ninjas, or shinobi, served as covert agents and spies, often employed by samurai lords during the Sengoku period, 15th to 17th centuries. While not strictly assassins, their skill sets, espionage, disguise, sabotage, and occasionally targeted killing, aligned with the assassin archetype. Ninjas trained in the art of stealth, and their image became idealized in Japanese folklore as both feared and revered figures. Assassinations as political statements. During the Renaissance and early modern period, assassinations became significant in Europe's shifting political and religious landscape. Religious wars, such as those between Catholics and Protestants, often involved targeted killings. Monarchs and politicians across Europe became both the perpetrators and victims of assassinations, reflecting the growing tensions between emerging states and religious factions. 1. The Medici family. In Renaissance Italy, the Medici family in Florence used assassinations as a tool to consolidate and maintain their power. The Pazzi conspiracy of 1478 saw an attempted assassination of Lorenzo de' Medici, which ultimately failed, but highlighted the prevalence of assassination as a political weapon among the ruling elite. Number 2. French Wars of Religion. During the 16th century, assassinations became a tool for both Catholics and Protestants. The murder of Henry IV of France in 1610 by a Catholic fanatic was one of many religiously motivated killings. Such acts aimed not only to eliminate opponents, but to send a message to the public or sway political directions, reflecting the ideological stakes tied to these murders. 19th and 20th century political assassinations. With the advent of the modern era, Assassination evolved into a tactic of revolutionaries, anarchists, and extremists. As states formed complex governments and bureaucracies, assassinations became tools of protest, with perpetrators often motivated by political ideologies or social grievances. 1. Anarchist movements. In the 19th century, anarchist movements in Europe and the United States saw assassinations as acts of rebellion against oppressive governments. Figures like Leon Czolgosz, who assassinated U.S. President William McKinley in 1901, were influenced by anarchist ideas. Anarchists believed that by targeting political leaders, they could dismantle oppressive systems. Number 2. Nationalism and the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria in 1914 by Gavrilo Princip, a Bosnian Serb nationalist, exemplified how assassins could directly influence global events. Princip's actions contributed to the outbreak of World War I, showcasing the assassin's role in shaping history. Cold War and state-sponsored assassinations. During the Cold War, both the United States and the Soviet Union engaged in covert assassination attempts. Figures such as Che Guevara and Fidel Castro were targets of U.S.-backed assassination attempts, while Soviet agents targeted dissidents in exile. State-sponsored assassination during this period underscored how governments could employ assassination as a tool of foreign policy. Let me know if you need any modifications or further assistance. Here's the text you requested. The assassin in modern culture. In modern times, the assassin has become a staple character in literature, film, and video games, representing different interpretations and moral complexities. Assassins today appear as anti-heroes, morally ambiguous characters, and often reflect society's complex views on justice, morality, and violence. 1. Literature. Assassins feature prominently in genres like spy thrillers, with novels such as Ian Fleming's James Bond series or Robert Ludlum's The Bourne Identity, portraying assassins in roles tied to national security. These assassins are highly trained and morally nuanced, serving the state, but often acting in morally gray areas. Number 2. Video games and movies. In video games, the Assassin's Creed franchise has become iconic, drawing loosely on the historical Hashashin and placing assassins in different historical contexts. This franchise presents assassins as noble and skilled, offering a romanticized portrayal that has captured popular imagination. 3. Assassins as anti-heroes. Films like John Wick or Leon the Professional showcase assassins with complex backstories, emphasizing themes of vengeance, redemption, and loyalty. This anti-hero depiction highlights the assassin as someone governed by a personal code of ethics, resonating with audiences who see these characters as multifaceted, rather than simply ruthless killers. Ethics and controversy surrounding assassination. While fictional assassins are often romanticized, real-world assassinations remain a highly controversial and ethically charged topic. Political assassinations can be viewed as an infringement on democratic processes or as acts of terrorism. Debates around state-sponsored assassination, such as targeted drone strikes, bring up ethical questions about the balance between security and human rights. Assassins in religion and philosophy. Historically, assassins have been condemned by most religious and philosophical doctrines. Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, and other religions generally condemn murder. Yet religious and political motivations often underlie many historical assassinations. Philosophers have discussed the implications of assassination, with figures like Niccolò Machiavelli and Carl Schmitt viewing it as a necessary evil under certain conditions, especially in the context of maintaining or achieving political stability. Assassins and assassination have been present throughout history as tools for political change, rebellion, and psychological impact. The evolution of assassins, from Hashashin agents in medieval Persia to modern antiheroes in media, reflects society's shifting values around power, morality, and justice. Whether regarded as heroes, villains, or morally ambiguous figures, Assassins continue to intrigue us, representing humanity's darker impulses and the lengths to which people will go for ideology, loyalty, or revenge. In today's world, where debates about state violence and political instability persist, the figure of the assassin remains relevant, symbolizing the complex and sometimes contradictory nature of power and morality.